It is about to be over for the WNBA. As it appears, Caitlin Clark has improved a major flaw in her game, and this will unlock her to be the MVP.
Clark, a deep three.
She almost did not make it back. Not because of lack of effort, not because of lack of heart, but because her body, the same body that carried her through 4 years of college dominance and a record-breaking rookie season, started breaking down at the worst possible time.
Unsurprisingly, the networks were fighting over games featuring the Indiana Felines. If she stays healthy, and I would be willing to bet religious investors in the WNBA and even atheist investors, they are on their knees praying that Caitlin Clark remains healthy throughout this regular season. Otherwise, this dump of a league is in deep shit. If she stays healthy, Caitlin Clark will be featured on national television 44 times this season. There are only 44 games on the schedule, which means every game of the Indiana Felines will be nationally televised. I wonder why.
And the sports world watched and waited, and slowly, some of them stopped believing. But today was different. Today, Caitlin Clark walked back into that arena, healthy, locked in, and ready. And every single person inside that building held their breath because nobody knew what version of her they were about to see. Was she still her? Was she really back? Keep watching, because what happened next changes everything.
I am anxious. I am eager to see what this Indiana Fever team is going to look like this season. I'm eager to see how Caitlin Clark is going to be utilized. I'm eager to see how Aaliyah Boston takes a step up in performance. Is that aggressive Aaliyah Boston that we saw in Unrivaled? Is that carrying over to the 2026 season? I'm eager to see how Monique Billings fits in. I'm eager to see how Ty Harris is off the bench. I'm eager to see Raven Johnson. Is Raven Johnson the defender everybody's saying she is? I'm eager to see it all. Most importantly, Caitlin Clark, when she is being utilized off ball, how will the Indiana Fever be using her? Are we setting multiple screens for her, trying to get her open, a la Klay Thompson, a la Ray Allen, a la Rip Hamilton? Or are we just using her as a decoy? Or are we using her as a screener?
Before we get into the game itself, you need to understand just how close this moment came to never happening at all, because the real story here is not what happened on the court today. It is what happened in the 8 months nobody was watching. Cast your mind back to May 2025, Caitlin Clark's sophomore season, the year she was supposed to announce herself, not as a phenomenon, not as a sensation, but as the best player in the WNBA. Full stop. It never happened. A right groin strain, then a left quad injury, then a bone bruise on her left ankle. 3 separate injuries in a single season, each one arriving just as she was finding her rhythm, each one snatching it away. By the time Indiana pulled her from the lineup in early September, she had played just 13 games out of 44. 13 games. For context, that is less than a third of the season, less than a third of the basketball she deserved to play, that fans deserved to watch, and that she had worked her entire life to be playing at that level. And the critics, they did not wait long. Within days, social media was flooded with takes, cold, brutal, ruthless takes, that she was fragile, that the WNBA was too physical for her, that her rookie year was a fluke, a moment of novelty, and that her window was already closing. Here is what those people missed. Caitlin Clark was not done. She was just getting started. And this is the part of the story that most channels are not talking about. Because while the hot takes were flying, Clark disappeared. No drama, no social media clapbacks, no press conference speeches. She just went quiet and went to work.
Caitlin Clark been in the gym cooking. She been cooking with hot grease, whipping up a pot or something. Caitlin Clark in there whipping up a pot or something. It is what it is. Now we know Caitlin Clark loves to shoot from deep, okay? Queen of the logo 3, the best shooter we've seen. Now let's take a look at this practice footage and something that she is adding to her game. The attention is in the details, y'all. Greatness is in the details. Let's take a look. Okay, you're gonna see Caitlin Clark here in practice, and just pay attention to what she does. pound dribble, sidestepping, going right, pulling up. Bang. Cash. Now, why is this such a big deal? Because we know that in games, teams have figured out if Caitlin Clark goes left, she's looking to pull up. If you push her to her right hand, she never feels comfortable going right and pulling up from deep or pulling up jump shots going right. If you push her to her right hand, she's either going to throw it to the roll man, she's going to pass it, or she's looking to turn the corner and get all the way to the rim. If you push her left, she's looking to pull up. I don't know why she stopped going left and shooting layups with her left hand. She used to do plenty in Iowa and finish with her left hand. I don't know what happened there, but WNBA teams know. If Caitlin Clark, if Aaliyah Boston is setting the screen and you allow Caitlin Clark to turn the corner and go left, she's pulling up. If you push her right, she's not going to pull up because she don't like to go right to pull up. So her working on this shows you that she knows it's a weakness and she's working on it.
8 months. That is how long she spent away from competitive basketball, rebuilding from the ground up. No shortcuts, no early returns for the sake of headlines, just grinding every single day in a process that nobody outside her inner circle was allowed to see. And then in March 2026, she resurfaced, not on a practice court, but in a full international tournament. Team USA, FIBA Women's World Cup qualifying, 5 games, 5 wins. And Clark walked away with the tournament MVP award. That was not a cameo. That was a statement. By the time Fever training camp opened in April, the Clark who showed up looked nothing like the player who limped through 13 games in 2025. She was moving freely. She was talking more. And when reporters asked her directly how she felt, she did not hesitate for a single second. She said, "I feel great. I'm super excited to be back. I believe I have a fantastic outlook on camp and am not taking anything for granted."
Kind of being back here on the floor, first time in quite some time. And also, how do you feel in the gym?
I feel great. Super excited to be back here, and I think I have a great perspective on, camp and not taking anything for granted. Obviously, at this time last year was kind of going through some things, so more than anything, just really excited. I feel really healthy and feel like I've put myself in a position to be as healthy as I can be to start the season, and kind of just staying on top of that and having a lot of fun. I think I have, like I said, great perspective on everything, and excited with all the people that we brought in. It should be a really fun camp.
Not cautious, not diplomatic, confident. And that confidence, you could see it the moment the preseason tipped off. From the opening possession, something was obvious. This was not a player easing herself back into the flow of a game. This was not someone testing her body, playing it safe, protecting minutes. Caitlin Clark came out of the gate like she had a point to prove, because she did. The first three-pointer dropped clean. No hesitation in the release, no second guessing, just the same smooth, flat-out, fearless stroke that had crowds on their feet in her rookie year. The crowd erupted, and from there, it built. The passes that find teammates before they even know they are open. The pull-up mid-range jumper landing with ice-cold precision. The full-court vision. The plays that make you stop, rewind, and watch again because you cannot quite believe she saw it in real time. Every single thing that made Caitlin Clark the most talked-about player in women's basketball was on full display, and the more she played, the louder it got. This was not a comeback. This was a reckoning. Here's something I want you to sit with for a moment. Most athletes who lose the majority of a season to multiple soft tissue injuries, groin, quad, ankle, come back as a different player. Not worse necessarily, but different. They protect certain movements. They second guess the aggressive play they once made automatically. They compensate, and that compensation lives in their game permanently. Clark came back with none of that. She came back with zero hesitation, zero compensation, and to me, that is the single most impressive thing about what happened today, because it tells you that those 8 months were not just physical recovery, they were mental reconstruction. She did not just heal her body, she rebuilt her belief completely. That is rare, genuinely, historically rare. And here is why that matters beyond today's game. The Indiana Fever are built to compete in 2026. New pieces, new energy, a coaching staff that has spent the offseason designing a system around what Clark does best. But every single one of those pieces only works at their highest level if number 22 is healthy, confident, and playing like herself. Today, she proved she is all three. The 2026 WNBA season is no longer a question mark for Indiana. It is a threat. And the rest of the league just got put on notice. Caitlin Clark spent 8 months in the dark doing the work nobody saw so that she could walk back into the light and make it look effortless. She is back. She is healthy. And if today was just the preseason, I genuinely cannot wait to see what the real season brings. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button right now. It genuinely helps the channel more than you know. Subscribe if you are not already, because we are covering every Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever moment this season as it happens. And drop your score prediction for her 2026 stats in the comments. We will be reading every single one.
Today, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. After waiting all off season, biting our nails, waiting, putting our ear to the door, are they gonna get a CBA deal done? Are we gonna have a 2026 season? After the CBA deal was done, the next order of business, watching Caitlin Clark ball out on FIBA. I'll take that MVP, please and thank you.
Clark, a deep
Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever's new camp footage really does change everything, because this does not look like a team getting ready for a season. It looks like a team sending a warning.
So we are into day number 2 of the Indiana Fever training camp, and we've seen a little bit of footage, and we've seen what the clear focus of the Indiana Fever is going to be on this year. But anyway, we've got to talk a little bit about this right here. And the Indiana Fever clearly going into training camp are focusing on the defensive end. You've seen it's how they've started all the trainings. This was my funniest thing, was seeing Caitlin Clark doing a dribbling warm-up.
And the scary part is, it is not just Caitlin Clark. Yes, the passes are back. Yes, the deep threes are dropping. Yes, the swagger is obvious. But what is really jumping out from this footage is something bigger. Indiana suddenly looks deeper, tougher, and way more complete than the team that came up short last year. And if that is true, the rest of the WNBA has a serious problem, because this was always the real question, not whether Caitlin Clark would return, not whether she would be healthy enough to play. The real question was whether she would still look like Caitlin Clark. Would the timing be there? Would the confidence be there? Would the insane Reed still show up in real speed, with defenders flying around her and no time to think?
History has already been made. Before a game has been played, Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever cementing their status as must-see TV. The cash cow, the money maker, the golden goose, the golden ticket, the savior of women's basketball. Yeah, we're going there. Caitlin Clark, her games will be made available. All 44 games will be made available through national TV, national subscriptions, so on and so forth.
Because being healthy is one thing, being dangerous is something else. And from the first camp clips, Caitlin does not look careful. She does not look limited. She does not look like someone easing back into rhythm. She looks dangerous again. You can see it in the passes immediately, not the safe ones, not the easy ones. I am talking about those one-handed lasers and no-look feeds that make you stop the clip and ask how she even saw that. There was even that pass to Maisha Hines-Allen where the ball got there so fast. The reaction basically said it all. That is not someone testing her body. That is someone trusting her instincts at full speed.
Come on, man. Caitlin going to work out here, dog. Love it. And then I saw this clip. Look at, watch this. Caitlin throw a nice pass down to Allen, and then watch how Allen turn around and look at Caitlin. Look at it. And she turned around looking like, man, what? I didn't think that was coming so fast. What was that? Look, all she can do is smile. I'm getting this for the rest of the season? Oh, I'm cooking. I'm cooking. Look at that smile. Beautiful work. Now,
and that is when this whole thing starts to feel different. because when Caitlin Clark is fully trusting her instincts, Indiana's offense changes shape. The floor gets bigger, defenses panic earlier, shooters get cleaner looks, cutters have more room, bigs get easier finishes. One player's confidence starts changing everything around her, and then come the threes. That is the part people are going to obsess over, and honestly, they should.
She had players playing what's your last name defense, because all they were doing was seeing her, the back of her jersey, like, come on, dog. Caitlin Clark be out here cooking, man. Come on. Knocking it down from the top. Look at these consecutive threes, man. This is beautiful work. Come on, man. Now, one thing I am paying attention to is how she's doing the 1-2 step. I wonder if she works on the grabbing it 2 feet, plant, and just shooting it for a quicker three. I wonder if she work on that.
Because it is not just that she is making them, it is how she is making them. Off movement, off the dribble, with a hand up, from deep enough to bend the defense before the possession even starts. That is not a player trying to find rhythm. That is a player who already found it. But here is where the story gets scary for the rest of the league. This is no longer just about Caitlin Clark looking good. It is about the fact the roster around her suddenly makes a lot more sense. Indiana did not just keep talent this offseason, they kept belief. And that matters more than people realize. Kelsey Mitchell could have left. She had every reason to. She had the season, the production, and the value to test the market. Instead, she came back. And when she talked about it, she did not make it sound like a business move. She made it sound personal. She talked about family, about the locker room, about the relationships. That tells you everything.
I think that's where I grew the most, if I'm honest. It was at a time where, like I said, I mean, it sounds cliche and it sounds boring, like the same song and dance, but this place was empty for a long time when I first started my career here, and I knew what it was like to connect with the fans on a personal level because, you know, we didn't have as much, you know, leeway to, like, really engage, and so me being outside was just me being a family person, me being a person, me being a human, really, because at the time, we didn't have that many fans, and so the fans that did come out and support, it meant a lot to me, and it was just a way of showing appreciation, really, man. I wouldn't trade it in because it kind of made me get to this point in my career, but I wouldn't be anybody without that.
Players do not talk like that when they think a team has hit its ceiling. They talk like that when they believe something real is building. And Mitchell coming back is massive because her fit with Clark is one of the hardest things in the league to guard. If a defense sells out to stop Caitlin, Mitchell attacks downhill and punishes them. If a defense starts worrying about Mitchell's pressure, Clark gets more space, cleaner reads, and easier looks. It is a brutal combination when it is clicking. Last year, you saw flashes. This year, it looks like Indiana is chasing the full version. Then there is Aaliyah Boston, and honestly, this might be the most important part of the whole thing. Because while Clark bends the game, Boston steadies it. Indiana did not just keep Boston, they locked her in like a franchise pillar. And that matters because every real contender needs someone who can survive ugly basketball. Boston is that player. She settles possessions, she owns the interior, she absorbs contact, she cleans up chaos. Clark might be the one stretching the defense until it breaks, but Boston is the reason the whole thing does not fall apart when the game gets physical. And in the playoffs, that matters more than highlights. Lexi Hull and Sophie Cunningham coming back matter too, and not just because of shooting. Continuity matters, trust matters, familiarity matters. Indiana is not starting from zero here. They already know how to play off Clark. They already understand the pace, the spacing, and the movement. That is why the footage looks sharp already. This team is not introducing itself. It is accelerating. But the biggest shift might be this. Last year, Indiana had talent. What they did not always have was enough force when the game got nasty. And that is exactly where this offseason starts looking smart. Monique Billings gives them pace, rebounding, communication, and a front court piece that actually fits the way Clark wants to play. She runs, she finishes, she gives them another reliable target in motion. She looks like someone who can immediately make life easier for everybody else. And then you add Myisha Hines-Allen. That is where the tone changes, because Hines-Allen brings something Indiana badly needed: weight, edge, resistance. She is the kind of player who makes games feel uncomfortable for the other team. And that matters because playoff basketball is not just about skill. It is about who can still function when the game gets rough, slow, and physical. Last year, Indiana had skill. This year, they might have skill and bite. That is a huge difference. Even the rookie storylines tell you something is changing. People tried to turn Raven Johnson into drama almost immediately, but that felt like internet nonsense more than anything real. The more interesting part is what she actually brings on the floor: defense, pressure, activity, the ability to make life harder on opposing guards without constantly giving away cheap fouls. That is useful right now. And then there is Justine Pizzot, who is quietly becoming one of those camp names people keep bringing up. The size stands out, the length stands out, but the real reason she is getting attention is because she looks more playable than expected. Active defensively, disruptive, recovering, contesting. If Indiana gets one more real wing piece than people saw coming, this team gets even deeper. And that leads to the biggest point of the whole video. Stephanie White is not coaching this team like she is trying to create a fun offense around a superstar. She is coaching like she thinks this team can actually win. The emphasis on defense, communication, and consistency is not subtle. And that is what makes all of this more than just camp hype. Because when you combine White's structure with Clark's creativity, Indiana starts looking like a team that can hurt you in every phase. Not just in highlights, in habits, in pace, in pressure, in depth. And that brings us to the real reason this footage matters. It is not because the clips are flashy. It is because the clips are starting to prove something. Clark looks fully back. The core stayed together. The front court looks tougher. The depth looks better. The defensive identity looks more serious. And for the first time, Indiana does not just look exciting, they look complete. That is the word, complete. And that is exactly what they were not last year. So when Caitlin Clark says she thinks Indiana will be the favorite to win it all, that suddenly does not sound like empty confidence. It sounds like a team showing you exactly how it sees itself. Personally, I think that is the biggest shift of all. The Fever do not look happy to be part of the conversation anymore. They look like they are trying to own it. So yes, this new camp footage changes everything. Not because practice clips guarantee banners, not because social media always tells the truth, but because for the first time, Indiana looks like a team where the talent, the chemistry, the toughness, and the belief are all lining up at once. And when that happens, contenders stop looking theoretical. They start looking real. If you are still watching, drop Fever Ready in the comments. And tell me this, what was Indiana's smartest offseason move?
All right, it's the elephant in the room. It's the elephant in the room. Somebody asked Caitlin Clark about it during media day, and she finally gave an answer on this Raven Johnson situation and being teammates and potentially sharing the court together and building chemistry and things like that. Caitlin Clark finally addressed the elephant in the room.
Clark, a deep
Caitlin Clark exploded at Fever Camp. And no, not with words. She exploded with presence, because one awkward Raven Johnson moment on day one turned into a full-blown storm by day two, and the second that footage started spreading, fans knew this story was not dying quietly.
Camp media availability, Caitlin Clark making it very clear she wants to play, she's ready to play, she's capable of playing. And then Stephanie White making it very clear she's not going to have a superstar on this team. She's not. There is no me, it's we.
What looked like a tiny training camp interaction suddenly felt like the first warning sign of something bigger. Not just drama, not just social media noise, something bigger. Because when Caitlin Clark is involved, nothing stays small for long. And that is exactly why this blew up.
Of Raven Clark deciding she's not going to high-five Caitlin Clark. And this is exactly what the Indiana Fever have brought on this season. The fact is, if you do not draft this person, I'm not making this video right now. We're not talking about this. But the fact is, all eyes are going to be on both of these players. And the Indiana Fever have nobody to blame but themselves, not the fans. Not the unhappy fans that warned you the very second that you announced your pick at number 10, you're inviting drama.
The clip itself is simple. Players are moving through a normal high-five line, routine stuff, automatic stuff, the kind of thing nobody ever talks about. Then Caitlin steps forward, hand ready, and Raven Johnson appears to step back, lower her head, and the contact never happens. That is it. No shouting, no confrontation, no obvious scene. But the energy of the moment breaks instantly, and sometimes that is all it takes. Because the second fan saw it, the internet split in half. One side said it was blatant disrespect. The other side said people were forcing a narrative out of nothing. But once Caitlin Clark is in the middle of a clip, there is no such thing as just a random camp moment anymore.
We all know there has been a bunch of nonsense surrounding this Raven Johnson selection. Me personally, I'm now rooting for Raven Johnson. I want her to play well with Caitlin Clark in the Indiana Fever, as I do all the players on the team. But with the draft pick, there was a lot that came with that. There's a lot going on with South Carolina fans and Caitlin Clark fans online and stuff like that. People getting threatened, all types of stuff. It has gone way too far. Like, it's not that serious.
Every look gets replayed. Every movement gets slowed down. Every tiny detail gets treated like evidence. And that is where this stopped being a clip and started becoming a storyline. Because fans did not watch that moment in a vacuum. They watched it with everything Caitlin already brings into the room. The spotlight, the pressure, the attention, the division, the obsession. Caitlin is not just another player in camp. She is the center of gravity. She changes the temperature of the gym the second she walks in. So when something even slightly awkward happens around her, people do not shrug and move on. They start connecting dots. And that is why Raven Johnson became the center of this debate almost immediately. Fair or not, fans were never going to treat that clip like an isolated mistake. The second they saw that missed moment, they started reading into it. Tension, discomfort, resistance. Maybe even the early signs that not everybody inside that building is fully comfortable with how much Caitlin Clark changes the team the moment she steps on the floor. Now, does that one clip prove all of that? Number. But did it unlock that conversation instantly? Absolutely. And that is what made day 2 so important. Because day 1 got people talking. Day 2 made people stop. That is where this whole thing took a turn. According to the second transcript, the gym felt tighter on day 2. The players looked sharper. The energy felt more alert. Even the warm-up did not feel normal anymore. Why? Because now everybody knew the cameras were rolling, everybody knew the first clip was already out there, and everybody knew Caitlin Clark was walking right back into the middle of it. That kind of pressure changes a building before the ball even starts moving. And then Caitlin started playing. That is the real pivot in this story. Because once the basketball kicked in, this stopped feeling like internet drama and started feeling like a warning. The transcript describes a stretch where Caitlin began controlling everything. The reads got quicker, the spacing got cleaner, the pace changed. A pass split open a gap that should not have been there. A pull-up created space instead of waiting for it. Possession after possession, the gym started reacting to her instead of the other way around. Not loud, not flashy, just complete control. And that kind of control does something to people. It makes them hesitate. It makes them second guess. It makes them feel the shift before they can even explain what changed. That is the explosion, not some emotional outburst, not some dramatic meltdown. The explosion was impact. The explosion was control. The explosion was watching one player bend the energy of the entire gym without needing to say a single word. And once that happened, the first clip started feeling heavier. Because now the question was not just, did Raven Johnson disrespect Caitlin Clark? Now the question became, what happens when the biggest star in the building is also the one taking over the building? That is when the pressure really starts. Because if you are a teammate, that changes everything. If you are a coach, that changes everything. If you are the Fever, that changes everything. Now every interaction gets watched differently. Every reaction gets judged differently. Every small moment gets stacked on top of the last one until fans feel like they are watching a pattern instead of a coincidence. That is how stories like this grow. Not because one clip proves everything, but because every next clip starts feeding what people already believe. And make no mistake, this is exactly the kind of story that can swallow a team early if they are not careful. because training camp is supposed to be where chemistry gets built quietly. Instead, Indiana is trying to build chemistry while the entire internet is dissecting body language. That is a problem, because if camp already feels this tense, what happens when the real pressure starts? What happens when minutes get cut, touches get reduced, and somebody has to sacrifice? What happens when frustration is no longer just hypothetical? That is when little moments stop being little. That is when they come back. Now, to be fair, yes, there are people saying this whole thing is overblown. They think the clip got taken out of context. They think fans are reading too much into body language because Caitlin Clark is involved. And that is possible. This is not hard proof of some giant locker room war. But that does not make it harmless, because sometimes perception becomes pressure long before the truth catches up. And in a situation like this, pressure changes behavior. Pressure changes chemistry. Pressure changes the way people move around each other. That is why this matters. And here is why Caitlin comes out of this looking stronger, not weaker. She did not force a response. She did not create a scene. She did not feed the chaos. She stayed focused. She stayed composed. She kept competing. And that matters because in a moment like this, the calmest person in the storm usually ends up looking like the strongest person in the room. While everybody else was debating the clip, Caitlin looked like the one person who understood the fastest way to answer noise is to control the floor. And that is my biggest takeaway from all of this. I do not think this one clip proves every wild theory flying around online, but I do think it exposed something real. It exposed how fragile the energy around this team already feels. It exposed how quickly anything involving Caitlin Clark turns into a full-scale battle online. And most importantly, it exposed that by day 2, Caitlin did not look rattled. She looked like the player dictating everything. And that is the part people inside that gym had to feel immediately. Because it is one thing to deal with Caitlin Clark, the headline. It is another thing to deal with Caitlin Clark, the force. So now the Fever have a real challenge in front of them. Not just winning games, managing the spotlight, managing the chemistry, managing what happens when every tiny moment becomes content and every camp clip becomes a referendum on the team. Because if this is how loud it already is before the season even starts, imagine what happens once the first real adversity hits. That is when we find out whether this was just a weird camp moment or the first sign that something underneath this team is already unstable. So now I want to hear from you. Did Raven Johnson really disrespect Caitlin Clark, or is this whole thing being blown out of proportion?